I'm not here asking for your sympathy. I'm not here to make excuses. I just want to tell you how, step by step, a happy wife turns into a person who deletes text messages while standing in the shower with the water running, just so her husband doesn't hear the vibration. My name is Sarah, and 3 months ago, I cheated on my husband. The man who was my best friend, my rock, and, as I thought, the love of my life. It didn't start with a fight. It didn't start because we grew apart, as they like to write in romance novels. Our marriage was good. Maybe even too good. We had been together for 7 years. 7 years of stability. We understood each other without words. On weekends, we went grocery shopping, watched series in the evenings, and planned our vacations 6 months in advance. We had that quiet harbor everyone dreams of. But in that silence, I started to go deaf. It's hard to explain if you haven't felt it. Imagine living in a perfect museum. Everything is beautiful, everything is in its place, there is no dust. But you can't touch anything. You can't scream. You can't run. You can only walk on tiptoes and smile. I felt like an exhibit in my own life. Andrew, my husband, is wonderful, caring, reliable as a Swiss bank. But at some point, I realized I knew every word he was going to say before he said it. I knew how he would joke at dinner. I knew the position he would sleep in. I knew exactly what he would get me for my birthday, probably a spa certificate or those new headphones I mentioned once. Predictability. That was the first nail in the coffin of our fidelity. It happened in the fall. Just an ordinary gray Tuesday. Work was crazy, new project, deadlines were burning. I stayed late at the office. Everyone had left. It was just security and me. And him. His name was Mark. He was
the new head of marketing. We had crossed paths a couple of times at meetings, but never spoke personally. He was the complete opposite of Andrew. Andrew is calm, plaid shirts, and 5-year plans. Mark was chaos, always disheveled, loud laugh, sharp gestures. He smelled of expensive tobacco and some unexplainable freedom.
That evening, I was standing by the coffee machine, trying to squeeze the last drops of life out of it, when he walked up. "Rough day?" he asked. A cliché. Thousands of office romances started with that cliché phrase. "You have no idea," I replied without turning around. "Let me treat you to some real coffee. There's a place around the corner open until midnight. This office sludge is impossible to drink." I should have said no. I should have said, "My husband is waiting. I'm tired. I need to work." 10 different refusals flashed through my mind. But I said, "Okay." Why? I still ask myself that question. Probably because I wanted that day to stop being so identical to the rest. I wanted to break the script of home, work, home. We went to the coffee shop. We talked for an hour, maybe 2. And you know what we talked about? Not work. Not the weather. We talked about dreams that never came true. I told him I always wanted to learn to paw,
but never had the time. He told me he dreams of dropping everything and hitchhiking through Asia. It was a strange, intoxicating conversation. With Andrew, we discussed the mortgage, renovations, the grocery list. With Mark, I discussed myself. The part of me I had pushed into a dark corner a long time ago.
When I got home, Andrew was already asleep. I undressed quietly, lay down next to him, and felt a pang of conscience. But it was weak, barely noticeable. I told myself, "Nothing happened. We just had coffee. He's just a colleague." Lying to yourself is the most dangerous drug. The next 2 weeks turned into a game. We started texting. At first, it was memes about work, then movie discussions, then good morning messages, and soon, I caught myself waking up and reaching for my phone first thing, not to check emails, but to see if Mark was online. Andrew didn't notice anything, or he pretended not to. He still kissed me on the cheek before leaving, still asked what to buy for dinner, and I I started lying. Little lies. Staying late tonight, meeting. Going to the gym, we'll be late. Meeting the girls, don't wait up. Every lie became easier. Adrenaline surged in my blood. I felt alive.
For the first time in ages, I felt like a desired woman being chased, not a familiar fixture that was just convenient to have around. The turning point came a month later. The company holiday party. Music, alcohol, a relaxed atmosphere. I wore a red dress that had been hanging in my closet for 3 years. Andrew didn't like it. He said it was too revealing. Mark didn't take his eyes off me all evening.
At some point, it got too stuffy inside. I went out onto the terrace. The November air was freezing, but I felt hot. Mark followed me. "You look stunning tonight," he said, standing a little too close. "Thank you." My voice trembled. "Are you happy?" he suddenly asked. Bluntly. No warm-up. "What kind of question is that? Of course. I have a husband, a family." "I didn't ask about your husband. I asked about you. Are you happy?" I fell silent. I looked at the city lights and realized that, if I told the truth now, everything would collapse. "I don't know," I whispered. He took my hand. His fingers were hot. "I don't want to ruin your life," he said quietly. "But I can't stop thinking about you. Every minute. It's driving me crazy." And he kissed me. In movies, they usually show fireworks or slow motion at this moment. In reality, it was simpler and scarier. Panic exploded in my head. "What are you doing? Stop!" But my body
Betrayed me. I kissed him back. I clung to him like a drowning man to a life raft. In that kiss was everything. My longing for passion, my fatigue from routine, my fear, and my desire. We left the party together. Not home. To a hotel.
I remember everything in fragments. The taxi, the keys on the reception counter, the elevator, the heartbeat that seemed audible to the entire floor. When the door to the room closed, there was no turning back. I took off my wedding ring and put it in my coat pocket. A symbolic gesture. As if the ring isn't on the finger, the cheating isn't real. Stupid. That night was different. It wasn't sex for the sake of sex. It was an explosion. Hunger. We tore the clothes off each other as if we were afraid the world would disappear in a second. I didn't think about Andrew. I didn't think about the consequences. I was here and now. I was selfish to the bone. The morning was the scariest moment of my life. I woke up in a strange bed, in a strange room, with the smell of a strange man on my skin. Mark was still asleep. I checked my phone. 15 missed calls from Andrew. "Where are you? Is everything okay? I'm worried, call me. Baby, I'm losing
my mind here." Gasps. A cold sweat broke out instantly. The euphoria of the night evaporated, leaving behind a nauseating taste of shame and horror. What had I done? God, what had I done? I got dressed in 3 minutes. Mark woke up, tried to hug me, tried to say something. "I have to go," I snapped, not looking him in the eye. "Will I see you?" he asked. "I don't know." I ran out of the hotel and got into a taxi. The whole way home, I was inventing a lie. The biggest lie of my life. Did a friend have an emergency? No, Andrew would call her. Fell asleep at the office. He wouldn't believe it. Phone died. Stayed with a colleague. Yes, a colleague. A new female employee. He doesn't know her. When I walked into the apartment, Andrew was sitting in the kitchen. He hadn't slept all night. A cup of cold tea sat before him. He looked up at me. There was no anger in his eyes. There was fear, and that fear hurt me more than any scream. "Where were you?" he asked quietly, and I started lying. I looked into the eyes of the person I vowed to love forever, and I poured disgusting, sticky lies into his ears about a drunk colleague who needed comforting, about a dead battery, about how I just passed out on the couch in her living room. He listened. He nodded. He wanted to believe. People who love always want to believe, even when the truth is screaming in their face. I almost lost my mind, he said, standing up and hugging me. The important thing is you're safe. Go take a shower. I'll make breakfast. I went to the bathroom, turned the water on full blast, slid down the tiled wall to the floor, and sobbed, silently, covering my mouth with my hand so he wouldn't hear. I washed Mark's scent off me, scrubbed my skin with a washcloth until it was red, but it felt like the smell was etched into my DNA. I felt dirty, a traitor.
But the scariest part wasn't that. The scariest part was that deep down, under layers of shame and guilt, I wanted to go back to Mark. And that is how my double life began.